I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk, and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Omni viewer, and I'm always on the lookout for media that does things just a little bit differently. Sometimes a good genre mashup can really liven up some tried and true but otherwise tired concepts. Other times it can just result in something that's not all that interesting. Take, for example, the mid-90s anime film Darkside Blues.
At some point in the future, the world has gone full cyberpunk dystopia thanks to the Persona Century Corporation, which owns 95% of the world. The remaining 5% that wasn't bought out are where the freedom fighters and rebels reside. One such place is Kabuki Town in Japan, and into this particular region, a mysterious stranger makes one heck of a dramatic entrance. This stranger takes up residence in Kabuki, where he assumes the name Darkside and keeps watch over a small group of self-proclaimed delinquents who fall in with a freedom fighter on the run from Persona.
The original manga upon which this film is based was apparently the brainchild of Hideyuki Kikuchi, who came up with such classics as Dark City and Vampire Hunter D. Now, I haven't read the manga, so I can't really comment on that. I'm sure the manga is perfectly fine. All I can really comment on is the movie, because I have seen that. And having seen it, my assessment is that it is just a very visually appealing pile of nothing.
As far as aesthetics and atmosphere go, Darkside Blues excels. The combination of cyberpunk and gothic may not seem like an obvious combination to make, but they blend together a lot better than you'd expect.
In some ways, you could say the two styles complement each other. Cyberpunk and Gothic fiction are usually tales of oppression, with ordinary people dealing with forces much greater than them. And this sense of the small against the large is often realized in the architecture.
Both styles tend towards large structures, though Cyberpunk usually focuses on the exteriors of neon-lit skyscrapers, while Gothic horror brings us to the cavernous interiors of ancient mansions. In Darkside Blues, both ideas are followed to the letter, with the sleek exteriors of this corporately controlled dictatorship concealing intricate interiors with long hallways, large fireplaces, and limited lighting. It also means that Darkside himself contrasts sharply with the world around him. In a bright, sleek, futuristic landscape, he stands out with his dark color palette and Victorian attire.
Make no mistake, folks, Darkside Blues is a good-looking film. And the but is coming in 3, 2, 1. But just because something looks good doesn't mean it has anything going on beneath the surface. What did I tell you? Now again, I would like to point out that I'm speaking strictly about the movie here, since I have not been able to find any copies of the original manga. Having seen the movie, though, I have to say that it doesn't really work out in the long run.
I do understand what Darkside Blues was going for in terms of presentation. The movie plays out in an almost dreamlike way, or perhaps nightmare-like is the more appropriate term. If the movie actually did anything with this idea, perhaps by leaning into the surrealism and having characters properly react to it, the film might have worked out better. Yet the movie has too much structure to qualify as totally dreamlike, so the result is a film that's filled with odd things that have no explanation or substance.
Take, for example, the Mirage Hotel. Mirage Hotel? Do you mean to tell me this movie is set in Las Vegas? I wish. At least then we could have gotten a magic act or some showgirls or anything that was remotely interesting.
No, this Mirage Hotel is a place in Kabuki Town where Darkside takes up residence and sets up some sort of business around the idea of renewal, which we'll get to in a moment. Apparently, if you enter the Mirage with a particular room in mind, you will go straight to that room as you enter the lobby. No stairs or elevator, you just teleport there, or else the room materializes around you. It's one of those two. If you have no destination in mind, you remain in the lobby wondering where to go next or where your companion just went.
Now, at first I thought this was another manifestation of Darkside's power, since we first experience it when Celia goes to visit him at the hotel.
Later dialogue, however, implies that this is always how the Mirage Hotel has been, and since everybody is surprised by it, we know that this odd feature must be supernatural rather than technological. It never gets explained, though. It just is, and we're left wondering how it makes sense.
Darkside himself is never explained either. Now, granted, one of the villains does hint at a possible explanation where it says that some guy was thrown into another dimension years ago, but it's glossed over so quickly that it barely serves as an explanation at all.
Then we have this whole renewal business. Literally, Darkside has a business built around renewal, though he never seems to get paid for it. As near as I can tell, it involves him scanning a person's brain for old traumatic memories, and then that somehow is meant to push them towards moving it past it and bettering their lives. I think.
Frankly, renewal gets less of an explanation than either Darkside or the hotel, yet it winds up playing a crucial part in the finale. Well, for as much of a finale as it is. Yeah, this is one of those mid-90s anime which thought the best note to go out on was a nearly incomprehensible non-ending.
When we reach the end, precisely 2 characters have kinda sorta experienced minimal growth, and that's all that really happens. Persona still rules the world, Darkside is still a huge question mark, this character, who was built up as important, has no explanation and is apparently being saved for a sequel that never happened, and I'm just left wondering what the point of it all was.
To be blunt, I'm not even sure there was a point. Could the point be to get people reading the manga? That sort of tactic isn't unheard of, you know. If it was, then it probably didn't work.
Granted, I am speaking as someone living in 21st century America, but it seems like Darkside Blues is a series people don't want to remember. I can barely find any information about it, and I can't find any copies of the manga at all.
Between that and the lack of behind-the-scenes content on the DVD, I have nothing to go on other than what I see. Unfortunately, what I see is a bunch of pretty gothic imagery that ultimately congeals into nothing of substance.
The most frustrating thing is that I can tell there's meant to be more to this story, but all I have is a few out-of-context chapters to a book I'll never find the rest of.
I'm sure it's possible to combine cyberpunk and gothic horror into something that's legitimately entertaining, and maybe the original manga does pull it off. All I can say for certain is that the movie doesn't. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off. Oh, and the actual blues song that plays in the movie is okay, I guess. But Cowboy Bebop still has better music.
Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.